So in 2018 we had about 300 calls, and in 2019 we had about 800 calls. So it's a significant increase, and it's to do with the hugely dedicated volunteer team and staff team that we have. Our volunteers and staff are professionally trained to deal with a huge range of issues, which makes it really easy for children to come and talk to us.
What are some of the main or recurring issues you come across in your work?
We find that even with the increase in calls, the type of issues that children talk to us about have stayed largely the same, which is good in a way. They talk to us a lot about difficulties they're having with friends and wanting to improve their friendships. They want to improve their family relationships. They might be confused about changes that are going on and about their own mental health and well-being. Pressures that they're having, let's say online, and peer pressure that they're facing to be constantly visible, maybe about body image or about sexuality. They talk about pressures they might be having at school because they're worried that they aren't fulfilling their potential and they want to do better. And at home, they tend to talk to us about trying to communicate better with perhaps their parents or siblings and arguments they might be having.
You mentioned online the use of social media and how that can cause pressures for children. So it's interesting that a chat service is actually being used to combat that. So talk us through how the service works and what kind of challenges you faced bringing that on.
Well, we know that the internet and social media is a huge force for good. And we also know that there are a huge amount of risks that children and parents face online. So what we want to do is, if a child is feeling worried or upset, that instead of searching maybe a dodgy or inappropriate site online, that they come to Childline and talk to us about it instead. That's really interesting because with the number of calls increasing on our online mediums, the way that we communicate to children and young people has to adapt as well. On the telephone, you can hear intonation, you can hear if they're sad, you can be reassuring if they're silent, you might hear them crying. But on a live chat service online, you can't hear those extra levels of communication.
We are speaking about children a lot, of course, but what about parents? What options do they have if they're struggling with anything?
We do have some parents who call our helpline asking for advice about how to deal with a child because they're worried about them. So we have this positive parenting course to provide parents with a chance to reflect and learn about their own parenting styles and increase their knowledge of the needs of their children. So if anyone wants to find out more information about any of our positive parenting courses, we've got a taster drop-in in the King's Bastion Leisure Centre on Thursday the 30th of January between 4 and 6:30. They can come along, they can meet the facilitators, see the materials on offer, and if they're interested, they can sign up to a course and we can then invite them to one of them later in the year.